Widely requested my first story analysis. Hiro, Taka's little brother. I'm really excited to hear what he sounds like. Special shout out to Tom from my personalized coaching program for steering me in the right direction for my first experience with this band. Already the energy of this track. May I just say that this genre, the Japanese rock, Japanese hard rock, I don't even know what you would call it necessarily. I really, really like it. The layers, the production, the songwriting. It's like they've taken what's now missing from a lot of the music around the world and started doing it right and even better. A true tenor, a very high disposition, even higher than his brother so far. I'm anxious to hear how he builds intensity with his voice. Those are cool layers. That was cool, that entrance. Listen, there's a couple things going on from a technique point of view. Supported whisper. A huge sigh into that. It breaks his voice, and then he creates good chord closure right afterward, but that's a big sigh to come right in for. Ugh, that's difficult to do. Most of the time, those sighs are much more understated as an entrance. And then on those vowels, he has this little bit of a growl. Cookie. So he sighs. That's a lot of stuff going on with your supraglottal other structures in your throat to create interesting sounds. Difficult to do well. You hear how he hit that note up? And then cleaned it up for the high note! If I put that down in my range more, let's go a little higher so we can get a sense of what it would be like in mix. I love situations like this where they heat up the notes below and then lighten up on the higher notes to give it this extra lift. It also shows how free they are with their range and that they're not just pushing more and more to try to get those higher notes. He's landing on that top note and heating up that lower note and using a little bit of chest pull, but also just wonderful dialed in compression to get that wonderful contrast of sound. What a beautiful sound. Hero's got crazy command over his voice when it comes to infusing clean singing and melodic stuff with these harsh and, in some cases, very extreme vocal techniques. He's putting them together in a way I haven't quite heard. If you'd like help with some of these types of techniques and with playing with your voice in a way that's inspired by what he's doing, but you don't quite know where to start, click that link below in the pinned comment or video description, and I'll help you work off of your inspirations and pull out things from your voice you never knew were there. It's such a subtle compression, and he's got such a light voice that the compression is going to sound lighter versus a heavier voice like mine. And that's something to be really aware of. When you're trying to sing along or sing like someone like this, you really have to take vocal weight and, yes, voice type into consideration. Because if I'm using the same technique in a similar part of my range, the compression is still going to sound less sheeny and more weighty, more gravelly than what he's doing. A good way to think about this is listening to someone like Chester Bennington when he starts getting broken up versus Chris Cornell when he gets broken up. There's this weight and throatiness versus a rasp and a sheen that Chester has. It's very similar here, and more so with Hero even than Taka, and I hear that with Taka as well. Listen to all those sighs. You can tell he's not locked into any one position, any one resonance, any one placement, because he's releasing between the notes. This both sounds good and saves your voice. I'm having to lighten up my voice, use compression, and be very much in my high mix. Whereas, though he's still in mix, he's in a much chestier mix for himself. You can also hear nice layers back there. We've got a self going on, a self, a clean, and then a middle self going on in the layers. This is creating a production sheen out of his voice. I want to hear that section again. Number one, because it's in English and I can better relate to what's going on with this voice when I'm in my language. Listen to where do you? Where do? How breathy do is? This is not an accident. This is very intentional. Where? Just try this. Where do you? Where do you? Where do you? It's like 3 different approaches to compression and airflow management over 3 different words. This is what gives him so much interest. And this isn't up there soaring in his high mix or middle mix. This is just attention to detail and engagement with his voice, dynamic engagement with his voice, which makes it so incredibly interesting. And you hear this through the effects. The effects here, I like this sort of, AM radio telephone sort of thing happening here, but it's a single vocal, so you can get a sense for what he's doing to texture his voice as one voice, and not like it was on the chorus where there's lots of layers going on, which makes it harder to hear.
When you're completely gone, where do you been going? Where are you
Looking for? How he dumps the air there.
Where do you been going? Where are you
Looking for? Not quite a sigh, it's more of a grunt almost at the end.
Where do you been going? Where are you looking for?
And he has that percussion at the beginning. Looking for, looking for, looking for. And listen to his texture there. There's so many different things happening. Now, it sounds like he's going back and forth between a fry engagement and a compression engagement. Listen again. Right there on the ma sound. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 ma. There's a little bit of that going on, and then he compresses into it. So fry would be a loose chord engagement combined with the note, which is really hard to dial in. You need to really practice that muscle memory. Like that. But then sort of the antithesis of that sound is a compression. Versus One projects a lot more, which is, it's interesting to hear those techniques juxtaposed. Listening again. Yeah, that's difficult. Something to practice. Did you hear those sighs? I like the octave lower doubles in that production. So smooth up there. And remember, listen for those sighs, how he doesn't lock himself into those high notes. There's so much freedom up there. Those two, you've got that wonderful perfect interval. Da, 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 da. It's a perfect interval. But you've got the added harmony of that compression that's almost adding another note in there. So, such a cool blend. It's far more layered and more produced, but I hear a Rage Against the Machine influence there.
One day it's just a book, kick up to the sky. Do you test me what? Do you lose a game? You know, I know. Cause there are needs to protect, so I'm never sure who I am. This is a shot, it's been made out today. To the measurement it.
He starts actually lower than I thought he did for his voice at the beginning. He's just got such a high voice that it makes you think it's higher than it is when he's... Anyway. But he is up at that breaking point! Like high mix, pulling chest up a little bit so he breaks up! Yeah! I just love his pre-notes. Sometimes their size. There, it's almost like this. Listen. Here. Right? There's so much of that going on. False chord engagement, almost like a low scream or a growl. Oh, and then... My. That's different than just clearing your throat. He's not. It's not Cookie. It's a sigh behind an M. My. Such cool textures, and a lot of these are on entrances. Whether it's a like he does or a my. Lots of interest going on. There's another one. So that's a false chord scream at the beginning. So cool. I've never heard someone really do that before. Such an emphasis on the size and the entrances to the notes. I can't get over it. Here you get a sense of his more speech resonance. He does have a high voice. He almost sounds like a Michael Jackson. Massive size going into that false chord engagement. And then the entrance, he continues that false chord. Goes back into it after a breath, and then he has that growl sound again. All sorts of stuff. Beautifully cleans it up. Wow. The multiple ways he engages what would otherwise be like extreme metal vocal techniques in short spurts and infuses those with beautiful, clean, light vocals and regular vocal distortion based on compression as well. I mean, there's so many things going on with his voice, particularly towards the end as he gets more and more into it. And I love that it happens on the entrances and the exits. I encourage you to go back and listen to this song from start to finish without me interrupting it and listen for all these things I'm pointing out. It will give you a huge appreciation, a new appreciation for what Hiro does with his voice. And it hopefully will inspire you to try some new things with your own voice. Again, if you'd like help doing that, pulling from these inspirations, learning some of these techniques, click that link below in the pinned comment or video description and join my free course. And if you'd like to check out the many videos I've done on Taka, you can do so in this playlist.